Hey guys, welcome back. It is Ando, and today we got, as per usual, whenever they give us a ton of information, it always comes in at one time. So there's a ton of stuff we're going to talk about in today's video, but it's going to center mostly around the new character that was released, for the Star Killer event. Katarn was a character, the main character that you played as is in an older video game. And so that kind of still fits the bill of video game. We know that we're going to get non video game characters. We know that Mar Jade's coming as well. So we're really just waiting on that last one, whoever that last one is. So this is going to be the kit reveal. We'll also go through some other news that dropped through. Talk about some things that go beyond this, and kind of a little bit of speculation there at the end. So let's go through his kit first. So Katarn, light side. He is light side attacker, rebel, and rebel fighter, and a Jedi. So there's a lot of tags, a lot of teams that you could potentially try to throw him into. And he's a force sensitive rebel operative and Jedi Knight. Okay, so this is his basic. This should be interesting. The final text: deal physical damage to target enemy twice. If it's Katarn's turn, inflict ability block for one turn. Otherwise, deal damage a third time. So, we saw that he's a rebel fighter, right? So when he's just, rebel fighters get called in to assist all the time. So he's actually going to be hitting 3 times whenever it's not his turn, So when he's called in to assist, that is pretty crazy to me. The ability block stuff is pretty sweet too, on his own turn, but his specials look really good. So you're going to probably be spamming those if they're available. But yeah, I don't know, that third time is going to definitely, I think, increase that damage output from the Mon Mothma Rebel fighters. Okay, so special one. And I think this animation just looks fantastic, by the way. Cooldown of 3. It's so cool. Final text: deal physical damage to target enemy twice. And that's something that I've been noticing more with kits. It feels like we've been getting a lot of people that attack multiple times. I don't know if that's just sort of their way to try to help raise the damage, or I'm not quite sure what that is all about, but it does seem to be more common now than it was before. If the target has force influence, which we'll talk about later, the second instance of damage deals 75% more damage. It's a pretty big damage increase. All allies gain crit chance up and potency up for 2 turns. And if he has the Jedi Knight kind of status effect, the first instance of damage deals 75% more damage. So again, kind of force influence and Jedi Knight kind of playing off of each other to deal, more damage. And all rebel fighter allies recover 50% health and protection. Now, with a Mon Mothma team, they're already pretty tanky. They're already recovering quite a bit in those teams. But just the ability now outside of Mon Mothma's turn to recover a big chunk of your health and protection is very, very nice. So very interesting ability. And I love the way that it looks. All right, special 2, Power of the Valley, cooldown of 3 as well. This is a Zeta ability. Dispel all debuffs on all rebel fighter allies. Rebel fighter allies gain defense up and speed up for 2 turns. Deal physical damage to all enemies and inflict force influence on the target enemy for 2 turns, right? So this is where that force influence comes in. That was talked about up here, so that dealing more damage to them, which can't be copied. It does seem like, and again, this is kind of where things go, like if it's a blue buff, then it's not going to be able to be resisted. But it does seem like if this is some sort of debuff, or I wonder if it's sort of like armor shred, where it's kind of colored red, but it's not really a debuff, so they can resist it or whatever. Or but it does seem like you can maybe evade this or something, at least right now. So we'll see, I guess. Maybe I missed something else, I don't know, but it does normally, these kind of things say like, hey, can't be evaded, can't be resisted. And when it says that stuff, it means that, that's a very important clause to have with a lot of stuff like that. So, and if he had Jedi Knight, he inflicts force influence on all enemies for 2 turns. And then force influence, what it does is you can assist, counterattack, or gain buffs. That's a big, big thing, especially if he's got this Jedi Knight ability. For them to not be able to do that, like the entire team not be able to do that for 2 turns, is pretty big. But for raid bosses in Galactic Legends, all it's going to do is just reduce their counter chance. And I was trying to think of like who that would be. And I really don't know, other than maybe like C. I don't know. Yeah, it's very weird. Okay, so unique blue milk run. All right, so this is an Omicron, but the Omicron will obviously just say, hey, in this game mode. So this is still the unique. So at the start of each encounter, Katarn gains 10% turn meter for each other rebel fighter ally. Remember that Mon Mothma is technically not a rebel fighter. And since it says each other rebel fighter, it's not probably going to include him. So it's really, he's going to gain 30% turn meter. When a rebel fighter ally attacks out of turn, they gain 12% offense, stacking, max of 60% until the end of their next turn. When Katarn attacks out of turn, he gains a stack of force connection until the end of battle, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Stacking, max of 10 stacks. When Kyle reaches 10 stacks of force connection, he resets his cooldowns, loses all stacks of force connection, and gains Jedi Knight until the end of battle, which cannot be copied, dispelled, or prevented. At the start of the encounter, if the enemy leader is Sith, rebel fighter allies have 50% defense and tenacity and 25% max health until the end of the encounter. So a lot to read there, a lot going on in that unique. But the big thing is that he based on how much base speed he really has, this 30% turn meter is going to be enough to potentially outrun some of the counters that we use for Mon Mothma right now. Specifically thinking of things like EP Vader, even troopers and stuff like that. Now Vader does get some speed based off of how many rebel fighters there are, but I don't know. I mean, just the idea that, hey, even when they're Sith, they're going to gain an extra amount of defense and tenacity and some max health in there. It's good enough, I think, right? Like, I think it's enough to at least say it's plausible at this moment that some of the counters that we're used to having against Mon Mothma are going to be a lot more iffy now and a lot more based off of mods than they were before. Okay, so force connection. This is the 10 stacks that you can get. So plus 2% defense and offense. Jedi Knight. So this is again after you kind of reached your 10 stacks of force connection, right? You lose all of your stacks and you become a Jedi Knight. Katarn and rebel fighters gain 50% offense or defense and offense. So again, bigger amount than what we had here, basically doubling it. Cannot gain force connection, right? So it's sort of like you can't stack on top of Jedi Knight. And this bonus applies to Jedi allies in territory battles. So I think this part, and I'm, again, it's hard to say, but I think this part is probably part of the Omicron as well. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just part of it. Because we know for sure that this is part of the Omicron. So the Omicron here is enemies can't gain bonus turn meter, and force influence can't be resisted. Okay, so there's where that, remember I was saying about the resisted. I knew I probably missed it somewhere. Okay, so it can't be resisted. So they can resist it in a normal GAC or TW or something like that. But that's pretty big, right? The enemies can't gain bonus turn meter. When Katarn attacks out of turn, he gains an additional stack of force connection, so you'll get to that force connection in Jedi Knight quicker. And the bonuses of Jedi Knight also apply to all other Jedis. Okay, so let me read that again. So 50% defense and offense to all other Jedis is pretty big as well. Okay, and the bonus, I already said that. At the end of each encounter, all Jedi and Rebel Fighter allies gain 75% bonus protection until the end of the encounter. And at the start of each encounter, Katarn gains 10% turn meter for each other Jedi ally. Okay, so that Omicron is pretty big. And I always forget this, and we were talking about this actually in my Discord. I always forget this, and I feel terrible for forgetting it, and I feel terrible that I can't give you guys a good answer. So if someone knows in the comment section, please inform us. Right? There's definitely at the start of the battle, and then at the start of the encounter, and I can't remember which one is for waves, and I can't remember which one is like, hey, it's overarching. I think the battle means the entirety. I think the encounter, though, resets at the different waves, if I'm not mistaken. And so if he's gaining this every single time, that's a lot, especially because the 75% max protection bonus protection is going to be based off of increase on max health in certain cases. Um, the Mon Mothma in of themselves, they gain, they share some stats with each other. So that's going to be a pretty big amount of bonus protection. So yeah, I don't know. This seems really, really good. Here's the thing. I know in TB, his Omicron is a TB Omicron, but I think he just sounds really, really good to boost up your Mon Mothma team in regular GAC. I don't know. Obviously, some of this is going to be dictated off of how much his base damage is and speed and stuff like that. I don't know if he's necessarily going to fit inside of a Jedi squad, like outside of TB. It sounds like in TB, especially if you have that Omicron, he's good to go with the Jedi squad as well. I just think right now I'm a little bit reserved on the Jedi piece of him. Now, again, he's got some really interesting stuff in his kit, but it does seem he wants to be with the Rebel fighters. So if you have strong Rebel fighters, or if you have, you're missing one piece here, Rebel fighters, this guy might be the guy to go with it. So yeah, it's going to cover the kit reveal for Kyle Katarn. I would expect he'll be in the game probably tomorrow, and then we'll do his event, on Thursday or something like that. So, all right, let's go on to some of the other updates, guys. So, as with what they promised, right? Just with every update, they're going to release kind of 2 Omicrons that are coming out. Okay, so the first one we have was Rollo, Rebel Officer Leia Organa. And basically this says, while in territory battle, so another TB one, Rebel allies have 35% speed. Rebel allies recover 100% health and protection at the start of each encounter, and whenever another Rebel ally is defeated. So again, based off of what a counter means, I would think that means wave, but I could be wrong. But yeah, one of them dies, and all of their health is pushed back up. When a Rebel ally critically hits an enemy, all Rebel allies gain 5% turn meter, double if it's their turn, so 10% turn meter, except for stuff that like double hits, or with Rollo, her special right here can hit 10 times. So if she crits 10 times, like, she's gonna go again basically. And when a Rebel ally is defeated, all Rebel allies gain 100% of that ally's offense stacking until they're defeated, right? So that's pretty crazy. If your Chupio dies, it's going to give 100% of its offense to, Han, Chewie. That's kind of the team that I see. I see this as a team where if you haven't played light side GOTB, they require a ton of CLSs in many of the phases. This is one of those ones where, to me, this is like, hey, you take CLS out, you put in your Rollo, and I think it does just as well. I think it 4-for-4s probably in every single. I think it probably 4-for-4s in every single phase. So I'm not personally big on the TB ones, like just because of where my guild is at and stuff like that. But like if you're not gonna get Hot Tub Boba, and you're not gonna, or if you're not gonna get him within, I'd say like, the first or second go around, you probably have an Omicron to spare. And if you're really just like in a guild where you guys are really pushing for max waves or trying to get higher waves, this doesn't seem bad. Let me just put it that way. I know people are gonna dog on it because it's TB, and again, the higher echelon guilds and players have already just kind of figured out light side GOTB. But for those that haven't and that need an extra team, or that only maybe have one team right now, this again will just offer you a little bit of flexibility. So yeah, I guess that's about Rollo. And then we also got Chief Nebbits. Now this is one personally where I'm just not even interested in it as well. I'm not interested in the Rollo one particularly right now, at least. Never know whenever a new TB comes out that how good that's going to be. But this one for me is just like not really even in contention because I have like Gear 8 Jawas. But this one does affect TW, which I am interested. I'm more interested, I think, in the PvP stuff, whether that's GAC or TW. When a Jedi ally a Jawa ally deals damage to an enemy, they dispel all buffs on that enemy. For every buff dispelled, that enemy is inflicted with thermal detonator for 2 turns, which can be dispelled, prevented, or resisted. So this ideally would work like with a really good, like if you're controlling it and if you just happen to get lucky, like maybe Padme just does one of her force heals or whatever it's called, the middle ability, and all those protection up goes up, right? This would be a pretty decent ability, right? You'd be throwing quite a few thermal detonators on. But again, it kind of relies on just some things that are out of your control, right? Like whether or not how tuned their team is, how tuned your team is. So that's why I'm personally not for it. But we'll continue reading on. When an enemy takes damage from a thermal detonator, Jawa allies recover 5% health and protection and gain 5% turn meter. And there's a 50% chance that that enemy is inflicted with a thermal detonator for 2 turns. So kind of like a repeating cycle, really, of thermal detonators, or at least the chance for a repeating cycle, which, you know, is going to boost up your TM and all that good stuff. So personally, not super interested, just because, again, I don't have the squad built up, much like Dash. Although I think I like Dash's more, just because I think it is, one, I'm closer to it, and 2, I think it's going to be better, you know, for your banner scores overall. But this is one that I'm not truly interested in, and Rollo's being TB as well, I'm kind of not as much interested in, me personally. Now, let's talk about something really quick. The event calendar came out as well. Login character for December's Cara Dune. Now, that could be just a tip of the cat to maybe Kyle Katarn, but it just seems weird that that's why they chose to. Now, sometimes, you know, the monthly login character is a very loose tie-in to something. But yeah, just figuring that there's, you know, 4 characters coming out. And none of them really have anything to do with her. I know, like I said, Kyle Katarn is going to be using a squad potentially with her, but I don't know. I don't know what other reason, I guess, would follow that. Personally, I'm kind of surprised it's not like Boba Fett or something to signify, you know, hey, Boba Fett's coming out this month. But the big thing that I really wanted to point out here is that we have Grand Arena. It's starting on December 13th. I believe that's one day after Conquest ends. A little bit sad because I started to think that like maybe some of this is due to, you know, them just wanting to rearrange the schedule to where you're not doing Conquest and GAC at the same time. But I'm still, like you guys saw in my, you know, state of my account video, I'm still holding out that there's definitely something coming out. I don't think that it's just purely a scheduling thing. And I'll show you something that was posted into our Discord today. So Kaino, one of the moderators on the forum, said, you know, there are different things, and I've seen a few of these from him. So he's obviously, I won't say he's in the know, but he has been told that, like, hey, there's something other than just scheduling, right? And I think he's trying to say that here. So he says there are different reasons things need approval. Sometimes it's a timing thing. Sometimes it is actual verbiage, and other times it can be defining things for clarity. But it can be also a mix of these and other reasons. In this case, I believe the delay is due to making sure the coming content timeline is in place before announcing the coming content. Not new content, just changes / touch-ups. But it's going to be one of these types of moments, right? And it's the old Jurassic Park Samuel Jackson. I think it's Samuel Jackson. I believe. I haven't watched that movie in forever, but I'm pretty sure it's him. But yeah, it's the old hold on to your butts. And so, yeah, I think that something's coming, whether that's, you know, auto deploy mechanics are changing, right? Maybe they've made it a little bit smarter, more intuitive. Hey, not just, you know, your top 5 GP guys and the next, and then the next. Maybe there's actual leaders and then the factions of said leaders. And you know, maybe I'm hoping, at least at the minimum, hoping some reward tweakage is happening. And yeah, I don't know. Overall, like, I just think that like something has to happen to that game mode, or else we're gonna start to see. I believe we're gonna start to see declining participation in that game mode. I think we've already started to see a little bit of it But I think we'll see more of it if that game mode just continues to be kind of, ignored or whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be pretty much it, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure you guys like. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you guys in the next one.